This is ACOFAE. Laura Marie and Jessica Marie proudly present A Court of Fandoms and Exploration, a podcast. Fair warning, everything the hosts say is explicit, full of spoilers and adult content and shall not be used against them. They have opinions. Let's try not to drag anyone for expressing themselves and just have fun for an hour. We all deserve it.
This episode contains spoilers from the world Sarah J. Maas has created. For any additional information, please see show notes.
Everybody, and welcome to A Court of Fandoms and Exploration, your weekly deep dive into the YA literature and fandoms that we love. I'm Laura Marie.
And I'm Jessica Marie.
And today we are revisiting A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas because we are celebrating our 100th episode.
And I know we've had like bonus episodes and special guest episodes, so we do have over 100 episodes, which is already so wild. But numerically, this is our official 100th episode, and Laura came up with this great idea to revisit it. Since the last time we chatted about it, I hadn't read Throne of Glass, ACOFAE wasn't out, HOSAB wasn't out, and this is just going to be really fun. All the spoilers, all the discussions, and kind of see where we've grown. This is the book that is the reason we started the podcast. Even though our first bookish episode is Crescent City, this is the one that kind of propelled everything into motion.
And just to kind of set the stage here, I kind of made you read ACOTAR, right? And then it was like during COVID, and we had like this window of time when COVID wasn't as terrible as it was going to be. And we got together and you were still reading it, and you had your revelation kind of about Rhys.
So many revelations. And I mean, we do have another ACOMAF episode that is, again, our initial one. But even from the time of then to now and the growth we are as people, Laura has been so patient this week. She's like, I want all the live reactions. I want everything. And I go, it's going to get excessive. And she's like, I want it all. And she's like, this is why we reread things, to see the growth that we have, because even the things that I took away this read emotionally drained in a whole different capacity than the first time that I had read it.
And I want to hear all about that, because I had a weird experience, and I want to hear kind of what you gleaned from this reread before I go into my experience.
Because, the fact that you said it was weird, I'm already thinking maybe my experience this time is similar to, again, you had mentioned it in the first ACOMAF episode, where you used to read this as like a yearly thing. You're like, I read ACOMAF when I want to feel strong, as a reminder to be strong. And I didn't understand the context, because at that point I had only read ACOMAF once, and then even now I've really felt like, with all the content that's out there between Bookstagram and Book Talk and different book communities, you're constantly on this high where you're like, I don't need to reread yet. So I was kind of living in that, and all the added characteristics that we as a community have given these characters so much. And also what we've learned since, again, 2 full books that she's released since.
Okay, you just hit the nail on the head. You really did, about why this reread was kind of weird for me. And it's kind of twofold. Okay. It is because, this might be a hot take. We are oversaturated with content about ACOTAR, and we have given them these extended lives and these extended personalities, and we have strayed in that I'm not going to say pretty far from the book because, like, I mean, we all kind of like stay in the spirit of, but like, that's not who they are.
Right.
Those storylines that we give them don't exist really. Like we have to, like, what is on paper is what is on paper. And everything else we can love and like have in our hearts and stuff, but like just reading it out is different. And it was kind of weird just to piggyback off of that, because the oversaturation has led to so many different theories. And those theories, because even though I actively avoid them, I still hear them. I still am aware of them. I'm still like interacting with them. So this reread, I'm going to say it, was not as enjoyable.
No.
It was not as enjoyable because, and there's a reason. Because there's two reasons. The series is not done, right? Crescent City and the series are not done. So now, these wonderful books that were considered like foundational books are now essentially travel books until the series is complete, right? Because until the series is complete, Crescent City and ACOTAR, we don't know what's going on. So now these rereads that used to be very enjoyable, that used to have this deep emotional impact, have become, let's tear this apart and search for the clues. So that mindset, even though that's not the mindset that I went into for this reread, is how I began it. And I know that because my opening line is, "Damn, Feyre, that's an emo opening." And when would I ever have said that? Like, really? Because like that opening sentence is when she's like going through her trauma and her dream, you're just like, oh damn, gut punch. Oh damn, like we're really in the trenches. Like we're really like depressed. But like this one, because of all of this other crap that has clouded the story, I was just like, dang, you gonna paint about it and have those paintings be shitty?
You know, I didn't even go down that route because this was my first reread. That being said, though, prior to this, and which is great, we love that everybody's reading. It's so wonderful. But for the longest time, you were in the trenches by yourself, scraping for morsels of anything in the fandom outside of Tumblr, basically, because you got into this as it was being released, as they were looking for, it was it's still a very niche community, but that experience for you in your first reread when you were very much alone and none of your friends were willing to, we were like, okay, Feyre, okay. We weren't there with you, supporting you. So sorry, by the way. You kind of got to hold on and clutch onto that a little bit more and a little bit harder because there was nobody else at that time.
So that's not to say that like we don't love all of this. Like obviously we love all of this. We love people reading. We love the content, everything. I am just saying, like, for me personally, that was very much invested. Like Mist and Fury is my favorite out of the series, obviously. But to have to, I say have to, but looking for the crumbs, right?
Yeah.
Now that we know that the worlds are interconnected, now that we know that Sarah isn't just a lazy writer, now that we know that she's doing this on purpose and that everything is tied together, now that we know that and we all accept that, it's become proving the theories and finding the clues instead of Feyre's journey. Although my second point at the very beginning that I said I was going to make is now. And all of that to say, 54, I was still in tears. Parts of 55, the attack in Velaris, I was in tears. The cauldron, I was in tears. Like, so even though my reading experience was diminished by the introduction of picking everything apart and looking for these clues instead of the story, I was still deeply sucked into the story where it mattered. And I feel like that's a credit to the writing, even though people shit on it all the time. And even though no, it's not the best and there's a lot of unleashing, I was still very much sucked in. And that is a credit to everything.
Well, I think people can pick apart other people's writing all they want. Sometimes I just, if it evokes emotion, that's where I think it's, if it evokes emotion, I think that's the best thing that you can take away from a book. I do have a question, and it might be controversial, where you're saying that where it comes to picking things apart, and maybe we've talked about this on a previous episode. Do you feel like now with all the theories, sometimes the theories become so outlandish, myself included, but I'm not trying to be right. I was just trying to going off on a complete tangent for something that we had texted about, and maybe we'll bring it up later in the episode. Do you think that it becomes a competition of, well, this is my theory, this is my theory. Oh, now we're just creating these crazy, outlandish, grasping at the stars theories in hopes that one of them is right, and then we could see oh, see, I told you so.
Yes, yeah, but I feel this way though with the Azriel and Elaine and Azriel. Okay. That whole ship war, I feel like is just deeply detrimental because it is a very toxic thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you made a really good TikTok about just you aren't actively participating necessarily in theories because you're we fight over so much already. And, as much as there are people who can have respectful, conversations and discourse, there's also people who cannot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's a lot of people that cannot. And, that's fine. And that's not us. We absolutely can have a respectful conversation. And what I would like to know, though, is just how, and maybe this will make people mad, how do people defend Tamlin?
What do you mean? I don't know. It's definitely not me. I don't say chapter 4, when I told Laura this. I go, I'm a text hoarder. I have our texts from our original chain from when you first moved to Germany. And I found that you were do you remember what you thought when you were first reading it? And I go, do I remember? I can't even lie because I have my own receipts that I was totally oh, I want to be so cherished the way Tamlin loves Feyre. And fully admittedly, when we were talking about it earlier this week, I said I had Feyre's rose-colored glasses on in that situation. And it makes complete sense when, I've shared it back in our original episode. It makes complete sense when I had a relationship that was mirrored to that so much. And now I'm I was blind.
Yes. I think the thing that really solidified it to me here, and Jess, you pointed out to me as well during our text, was after the plot when Feyre comes back from the night court the first time, and Tamlin is I trashed the whole house, sir.
And I texted you. I was that's not the flex you think it is.
What? You destroyed your house? Okay. Red flag 1000. But he says it in such a sweet, endearing, she's going to love this. It's
yes, I'm so sorry. I couldn't. You said, but how many times has he said this over and over again? It was, she's communicating. Hey, Tamlin, you keep doing this. It's kind of suffocating me. Maybe if you keep acting this way, you're going to push me away. She's verbally, there's no dancing around it. She is being direct in her communication. the paint explodes. It's red, drips down. Okay. Then he does another thing, and he does the whole punching of the wall, rah, rah, rah. And then every single time it's, oh, I'm sorry. How many times? You could say you're sorry all you want, but also actions speak louder than words. So none of his actions backed up what he was saying. And even fast forward all the way to the end, it's so glaring where he does it again, where he's like, come, Feyre, we are going. And then he follows up with that saying, well, I don't care if you're mates. She's mine. It's all about her being property.
And then he goes to grab her.
Yeah.
In that, like, we just finished this, like, right before we started recording. Tamlin lunges for her. He was going to grab her and, like, forcibly take her.
And she went on.
Yeah, before she came up with the plan to, like, do what she did. It's just, I can see where people want to see the best in him. I can see that. And I do understand that he has his own issues to get through. And in the beginning, they do, like, kind of, like, Sarah does kind of point that out. You know, he shifts into his beast form, blah, 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 blah. But also he, like, doesn't wake up when she's throwing up. Okay, sir. And like, it just treats her just like complete ass. But here's another little opinion of mine. Lucien is not her friend.
No. He's
not her friend here. Maybe he becomes her friend, like, a little bit later on. But here, but that is a tricky thought to me, though, because, like, when we say actions speak louder than words, he is the only one that speaks up for her, Lucien. But, like,
he does to a point, though, and she brings that up too. She, as in Feyre, but I guess also Sarah, bring that up too, where Feyre's internal dialogue, she's saying, look, like, he was fighting for me as much as he could, but he always yielded, is what she said. He always yielded to Tamlin. And Lucien would always say, we need order. We need to show a united front. And to give, and, now that we've read all the ones that we've read, you probably understand where he's dealing with his own trauma. He's trying to figure out his place in things. He's not with his own family. He's not with his biological dad. He's, his mate was, not his mate, but, like, the person that he loved was killed in front of him. He's just trying to find out where he fits, and he feels some sort of obligation to Tamlin. But it's like when people are in relationships and you could become friends with your significant other's friends, but when that relationship fizzles, you're not always going to stay friends with those people. And I feel like even then, Lucien is always trying to, like, do right by Tamlin because maybe there's, like, a people pleaser, but he's, like, not necessarily people, but, like, a Tamlin pleaser of sorts.
It was really glaring to me. And then, like, he was not her friend in the beginning. And then at the end, as soon as he walked out in the throne room at the end of the book, Lucien knew that all of that was bullshit. Like, and that
he was calling her out since they were with Hybern in there.
He's like, there.
What do you mean? How did the bond break? Like, he was calling her out where even when her plan was enacted, she's like, what's happening? What's going on? He goes, what do you mean what's going on? Like, he was trying to call her out on her bullshit. And
he was like this.
And I picked it up at this time where he goes, she's not showing concern that her sisters just fled with the people she's supposedly scared of.
Yeah, and then Feyre was like, oh no. Like, we'll get them back.
It'll be fine.
Yeah. So he is on to her from the moment, because it is implied that he can see through her glamours on her hands and stuff. So he's just like, what is all this bullshit? So that part, though, so by the end, I guess is my point. I do appreciate Lucien because he's just like, what is this? What is this?
Well, I love it when they're back, even when they're back in the spring court, he's trying to call her out on her shit. And she's like, Tamlin, I never thought I'd be back here. And he's like, mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. Good to know. So very, very fun. But Jess, I know you had just like a deep emotional reaction to this book. And I know that you had these reactions in places that were unexpected. But I don't know exactly where those places were. Can you tell me?
Oh my God. I think it was just a lot of like, you know, how this book is. And there's always some standout quotes. But it was the quotes, but it was like the ones where, you do what you love and what you need. I remember what it was to want to fight to live. You forgot. He was like, you forgot fighting. And like my future was mine to decide to forge forward. It was a lot of the self-reflection in Feyre. I think because like the first time I was reading it, I was reading Feyre from a perspective where it was related to romance. And this time I was relating it to like internal struggles and internal self journeys and all of that stuff. So I feel like a lot of that and being so like so sure in yourself. Like I think that is really what made it so emotional this time around.
To jump in on that, I had a thought when I was reading this, and that is that I really love this version of Feyre, right? This growth that we have, this version of Feyre. The ACOWAR Feyre is fine. But after ACOWAR, I go hot and cold with Feyre after ACOWAR. And, you know, that's fine because she's not really the main character anymore. And like, we're moving on to other books. That's fine. But I like this. And this is not anything about her like becoming a mother or like her pregnancy. That's fine. But like, I like this fierce version of Feyre where she's like, no, I want to have adventures. I want to have a full life. I want to know what it's like to live with you and to rule and to like be highly or like to be like, you know, in the court and all of this stuff before we have children. And I like that. And just to know that it's just like not that long after that she just kind of throws that all away, not to invalidate her choices, but like because after the war, she wants to connect all of those things. It's the whole thing with the painting. And I understand. I get it. But I like this version of her the best. And it is kind of a factor on why the later books don't hit as hard for me.
That makes sense because you also love Feyre, you know, this Feyre, and you were hoping to kind of continue seeing that. And you don't see this fierceness in her in the other books that we've had so far.
Yeah, not really. You get a little bit of it in ACOWAR, but you don't. You don't. So that was interesting to me. Did you have any different feelings about Nesta and Elaine this read through?
I'm on the record, not even like one episode, a multitude of episodes of saying how much I don't like Nesta, with the asterisk knowing that there are a lot of things about Nesta that the things I don't like about Nesta, I don't like about myself. Felt more glaring here. But I think the people who stand Nesta from the beginning, I can see why they truly like are gung-ho for her. I can see that. And I respect that. That being said, there are also some people who maybe it took them to ACOSF to really stand Nesta. That's fine too. I'm not about the stan wars for Nesta, whether you're like, I'm an original Nesta stan or I'm a later Nesta stan or they'd hate Nesta altogether. I'm not about that because the whole point to reading is to enjoy the characters in whatever capacity. And I'm saying that knowing the shit that we've talked about, Kale and Matt Donovan, like I recognize that, but I also respect people who are like, there's only one person that I won't respect, and it's probably like the Tamlin people who loves Tamlin. I'm sure that'll just, that'll come into the comments or the DMs or whatever. But that is one thing that I can't get on, and that's okay too.
Yeah, I I was a little bit torn. I was a little bit torn because as ACOMAF reads, Nesta and Elaine are fine. They're fine. Like,
yeah, they're actually not as problematic as I felt that they were, and that I remember that they were in ACOTAR.
Yeah, like they're fine. As they read in ACOMAF, I feel sympathy for them going into the cauldron. Going into the cauldron is like this violation of their bodies, right? Like I feel for them. I feel indifferent about Elaine, but she is the one that's, says stuff to the queens. Nesta says Nesta things, but Elaine's the one that does that.
Yeah, I think I completely forgot about how involved Elaine was until this reread of her being the most vocal one, and even her sticking up for Nesta, saying like, my sister's talking, excuse you. Like she had more of a voice than I remember. Again, maybe it's just because of the saturation and us joking, us as a community joking about her character. But she really did. I didn't pick up. I just didn't remember all of that until this reread. I thought she was just a silent partner the whole time.
Yeah. And that's the thing. So like when I was reading this, I was really trying to focus on stuff like this. The theory that I was thinking of when I was reading this is the one that like Elaine is a changeling and that's why she has brown eyes. And, she's the dad's favorite. And like, it was through him that they're all actually witches. And like, there aren't witches. So that,
Did you see the one where this is a theory that I saw where she might not necessarily be a changeling, but she's from like a mistress. Did you see that one? Where that's why she has the brown eyes. Where in my head, I'm like, I'm the only one in my family out of my siblings that have green eyes. Everybody else has brown eyes. So
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, genetics, that still made sense to me. I didn't pick up on little things like that, but I know the theory that you're referring to.
So I was thinking, so like as I was reading that, as I was reading this, I was thinking that, and that is just one of those examples that took me a little bit out of it, as I said earlier in the episode, but also made me aware of the oversaturation because, as you pointed out, I had forgotten that Elaine was vocal here and that she, had a little bit more. And it was just like the clarification was needed because I am mixing everything, and mixing everything is a detriment to the story because it bogs it down. Yeah. So I will be just so grateful when Crescent City and ACOTAR are just both done, so we can be done with this and just enjoy it the way that we did before they were connected.
I feel like the theories, talking it out, I know that some of the theories have impacted the end of this read. I was still crying with the high burn, but I saw a theory that said that they believed that Elaine was Tamlin's mate, not because gardening or something, but it was related to the fact in ACOTAR when Tamlin and Feyre are together and then Rhys comes in and then Lucien glamours Feyre and then he goes, oh, that's my betrothed. And he's trying to look out for Tamlin. So somebody had, but this also goes to people, people saying oh, this is my theory, of him doing the same thing with Elaine, having Elaine be Tamlin's mate. So in the Highburn scenes, I was trying to see where that connection was a little bit more to see if that had any grounds to stand on based on that scenario, comparing the two.
And that was in the back of your head the whole time.
Yes. Which I totally, it was, because at least with the Crescent City stuff, Crescent City related stuff, when I would, screenshot and send you a picture, it was more along the lines of, we know this now, the correlation. I wasn't really spinning on theories. It was just oh my gosh, the Book of Breathings. Now we know that's in Crescent City, or oh, we know this, and oh, the old language that must be. It might be the old Fae language that we have at the end of Hosab. So it was more along those things, with the correlations. I was really trying not to spiral with the theories with this read, except for the one. That makes no sense. The Jurian Danica one.
Ah, yes. Coming back to life. They can come back to life. Yeah, but the other here's another thing though, because I'm not shitting on all of this. Obviously, no, I'm not shitting on this. I love all of this, but I did like seeing things like the symbols. You know, they're probably word marks, and the rips in the universe. Okay, we know that because that's from Throne of Glass. You know, so like those connections are nice and those are fun because those are like canon more or less. We don't have to guess. We don't have to spin. We can like infer based on all of the knowledge that like, yeah, that's probably what it is. And I won't be, here's the other thing, disappointed because in the scheme of things, these little connections that we're making that don't have anything really to do with relationships are not going to shift the entire world if they aren't true. Mm-hmm. So it's not something that I'm just like staking my whole like personality on. I'm not saying that in a mean way. It's just the only word that I can think of at the moment. But like, yeah, that's where I'm at.
Could you argue that
Probably.
the same thing could? Well, yeah, I know. That's why I'm trying to be nice about this phrasing. Gosh, could you argue that the same could be said about fanfic? Again, not shitting on fanfic. We both read fanfics. But in the sense of, and we've had this conversation before, is it fair to be upset about stories when they go away from a fanfic or, characteristics that we've created? And then when we actually have the canon on paper and it didn't unfold the way that it went in your head, can we really be upset because, the outcome wasn't what you wanted it to be?
The question, can you get angry when it doesn't live up to the expectations that you falsely built based on a false narrative on things that aren't canon? Like, can you? Because that's like the big situation. I'm going to say like, no, you can't. And I'm going to expand on this. No, I'm going to say no. You cannot get mad when the story doesn't go your way because it's not your story. It's the author's story. They can do whatever they want. However, the author does need to be aware of like how that is going to impact the fan base, right? Because Divergent killed the entire dystopian genre of movies and books because we were so unhappy with the choice that the author made. So I feel like you have to be very careful, but also like, no, those are not your characters. You can write fan fiction all you want, but canon is canon.
I also wonder, Sarah comes across as the person who is very like, I know what I want. Or if she hears an idea, it could be like, I see where you're going with that. I'm going to take that and put that in the back of my head of what not to do because I don't want that. So who knows if even that's what's going on with the theories. And we've had that conversation before, just like people do in like marketing brainstorm meetings where like you start piggybacking off of certain things. They're like, oh, maybe I'll take a little bit of this and I'll take a little bit of that. It's like chefs in the kitchen. They're like kind of grabbing at what's available if they're, not bakers because that's more of a chemistry aspect to it. But cooking in the kitchen, there's a very much, you have more flexibility. And I feel like that might be, if she's even on the internet looking at us, she's very vocal about, she's like, I don't have time for, doing anything besides writing my books and writing a TV show and stuff. So
here's a point that I want to discuss. So having read ACOMAF, words on page. The theory that Rhys is evil, that he's actually evil and that he's going to decimate everybody. I don't care. I'm fine with it.
Even if he does, I loosely saw that and I don't think I was able to stomach it. But I think I saw something loosely saying like, well, if he is Damati and if he has gone in everybody's brain and has done it, I'm still okay. I'm
fine.
Like,
it's fine.
I'm fine with it. It would honestly, it's the same thing about Evil Elaine, right? Like, it's interesting to bring it to paper and to see how it unfolds. I think that's how I am right now, is to see how everything unfolds, because I want nothing more than to have a Throne of Glass, a ACOTAR and a Crescent City tattoo. But I'm waiting to see how it unfolds.
Yes. We have to wait until the series is over. That's the rule. That's the rule. It is just so interesting. And I guess you can say that like my morals do go out the window when you give me a very powerful, tall, dark, and handsome man offering me ultimate power. Yeah, I'm going to fold immediately in every situation. Kylo Ren, be queen of the universe. Yes, say less. Like immediately, yes. Just all of those situations. It's just like he doesn't have to stop speak. Like,
what is the full theory about Rhys being evil? Is that just it?
I don't even want to get into it.
Okay. You were the same with me. I was what? I was like, I'm keeping scrolling.
So if you are interested in that theory, please look it up. I'm not just like dissuading you from that. It's just like not something I want to like, we're moving along here. We're moving along here. It is what it is. So I guess, Jess, this reread for you, obviously very emotional. We went through a lot of things. So I'm looking through my notes and I do so much appreciate every time I do read this book, even this time when I was a little bit weird, that Rhys, I love him. And people hate him so much. And I just don't care. And there are valid reasons. Obviously no one is perfect. I know all of this, but, he knew the whole time, and that never stops being wonderful to me. And people will bitch and be like, oh, he's just a man. Like he did this. He didn't tell her, he's manipulating her. He put her in danger. He did all, I don't care. Read through the story. Feyre doesn't care either. And if she doesn't care, who am I to care?
I mean, I can't, I'm not going to disagree with you. Why would I?
You can.
No, because I've sent you videos this week crying, saying, I don't care. He's amazing. He's known the whole time. I mean, honestly, super, super emotional week. I'm drained. If anybody has like a therapist out there who like, send it in the DMs, because I don't know any therapist could be like, she's a little too into books. Maybe she's not going to be my client, or my patient. But I can't, I love it so much. And honestly, even when more, like, Feyre had already, like, worked everything out. She's like, I reacted emotionally. Let me take a step back because I'm solo in this cabin, and let me think about things logically. Logically, on paper, it actually doesn't make sense how and why, how he approached it, why he approached it the way that he did, and why he didn't tell me right away. She already had, and we know this based on chapter 52, 53, she had already made her decision. And even more came, and she's like, really, really hear him out. Like, he has his reasons. And again, Feyre said in her internal dialogue, I already made peace with that, and I understand, but like, she doesn't know this, so she's just coming to me for, like, as a member of the inner circle, as a future family member. And then Rhys gives her all the reasons, and it was everything that we had known the whole time, and that she had deduced also. So I can agree with Feyre that I probably would have reacted similarly, but like, you knew the whole time. But then when you take a step back, you're like, okay, I get it. And I kind of love you more for it, because I really wasn't in the place where I would have been. She had just been turned. All her choices are taken away. And she's learning to love him. She's like, why is he all about me and my choices? This is the complete opposite of what I was given before. And I'm with Feyre. Like, I don't know what else to say.
Something that was kind of annoying. It was kind of annoying to me. This reread was how much more and Az's relationship was like needled. Like, Feyre like poked at it a lot.
I didn't remember that.
Yeah, but it's a lot, isn't it? It's kind of like, Feyre, chill. They said they don't want to talk about it. Like, you don't really know them.
Yeah. I'm so glad that I'm like waiting to hear all your notes because mine have all been live reactions to you all week. So I love hearing these. Like, 'cause it wasn't just like a one-time thing because she brought it up and then she wanted to bring it as up too, but like they got interrupted. And then she brought something up with Reese and Reese is like, let it lie low. She brought it up with Moore a lot. And she's like, and if she wants to talk about it, I'm going to let her talk about it. And then when the conversation would lull, she would bring it back up. She's like, well, what about Az? What about this? And then she was it does seem like she was hype. Or when they were going off to Rita, she's like, oh, the three of them.
Yeah, like she's like hyper aware of it in kind of a weird way, which makes the revelation, the reveal, I guess, that Moore is gay, just like so much more like, oh, okay. Okay, so then why though so much here? If reveal there, why though? And this is just one of those questions. It's like when this reread, when it's just like, damn, Feyre, you're really nosy. Just like drop it.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing how Sarah writes, it's like, what is this payoff here? Like, because it's Az's whole story arc, right? Like this is all part of his whole story arc. So what is it?
And Moore even brings it up here where she's like, no, I'm not going to be with any of them ever again because I saw what it did to their friendship. And then she brings it up again where she was like, look, like she goes, I could drop my clothes right in front of him and he's not going to think he's good enough for me. Like he needs to handle his own shit before but like it is a bigger conversation. It is a bigger conversation for her, but I don't think that that's Feyre's place to insert herself.
Just like, you're a nosy bitch, like chill. But I guess the first like times that I'm reading it for romance, I'm reading it for growth, I'm reading it for like learning about the inner circle and like trying to understand their dynamics and like that's a part of it. But now knowing their dynamics as intimately as we do, it's just like, wow, like stop. It was just one of those little things. Another little thing I noticed is that right in like the like first chapter, as soon as Feyre starts throwing up, she immediately goes to the window and opens it up to see the stars in the night sky and like feel the breeze on her face. And that's like immediate. And that was something that I haven't really picked up on before, that she did that first thing.
And we're talking about things to pick up on relating to the night sky. I didn't remember how much Nesta picks up on all of this book. Like, yeah, we knew that she was very strong-willed. She didn't fall for Tamlin's glamour. But even in this one, she picked up on them being together. She was like, this is why you painted on your drawer. Like, she was very intuitive of their relationship before a relationship was even really established. And I didn't remember how insightful that she was like, and I guess it kind of makes sense where, later, I think it was chapter 58, where now Feyre again inserting herself with Cassian. She's like, so my sister, that was really nice of what you said.
She'll never forget it.
She's just self-insert. But, it's funny because, like, a couple chapters back, she's just like, more. And now she's like, Nesta.
Yeah, it's like, dang.
But okay. Maybe, do we make that, okay. You know how there were some characters in previous episodes, not necessarily ACOMAF, that have never really had a female friendship? Maybe this was Feyre's way. She didn't really have a friendship with her sisters because she was literally hunting from day to night. And she talks about that. She's like, she's kind of, has some sort of resentment towards her sisters, especially when she's letting out different angers and frustrations. And Reese even says, he goes, I get it, but it's going to take a while for me to forgive them that you were the baby sister and you took care of everybody, not the other way around. So maybe it was her way of being like, oh, maybe this is how I'm supposed to act with friends. I don't know.
Something that you're bringing up, you're bringing up like Nesta being very astute and everything and like really, and she does vocalize these things too. It's not like an inner monologue that we have because this is Feyre's point of view. So she's saying this stuff out loud, which I really appreciate because I was really tired in ACOFAE of Nesta just keeping everything inside. So that that was an interesting perspective as well, because knowing how much inner monologue Nesta actually has and how much she actually speaks, so that the fact that she's speaking a lot here and expressing herself is nice and interesting. And it makes me wonder what else she was picking up on that wasn't being shared, because all this to say, when when Moore and Rhys and Feyre meet the queens for, I believe, the first time, maybe the second time, Rhys is wearing a crown of raven's feathers. And I swear to fucking God, if that doesn't have some sort of connection to Crescent City and the raven and the white whatever that is, because we were never able to explain it. No one's been able to explain it.
We've asked too. We were like, okay, the White Raven, but I was like, the White Raven, the club, plays such a small role in Crescent. I mean, obviously, it's a known place, but to have it on the cover,
and it's on, and there's a bird on the new covers of ACOMAF holding the ring. So if that's a raven, then like what is it? See, this is a connection that I don't mind. Like, I like this. What does this mean? This doesn't really have anything to do with anything. This isn't a ship war. This isn't.
Yeah, and even like the beast, I say this in quotes, the beast that Rhys turns into, it's not like just a giant rook.
Yeah, it's not. So like, tell me, somebody, there's there's a million people that are smarter than me. Somebody tell me the connection, because I feel like that, again, because now that we know the worlds are interconnected and we know that Sarah is purposely like doing this, then why is this here?
And we know we're getting CC3 first before the next ACOTAR.
Yeah. So, and Bryce is in Prithian. So like, what is this connection? There has to be some, so like.
I'm going to lose my shit. I know we just had an episode where I had all my feels, my HOSAB feels. But that being said, yes to all of this.
How did we feel about this female betrayal with Ianthe here? I feel like this was a little bit more stark to me, this read through of Ianthe being in this bargain with Hybern before she's like friends with Feyre, right? So she's pumping Feyre full of all of this information. Tell me about your sisters. Tell me about them. Where are they?
I didn't trust her to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I do remember from my first read was like, I don't trust her. I don't fucking trust her. And I still didn't. I thought she was too fake. She was too much. And by the time that Feyre picked up on all of it, it was too late. And she picked up on it, obviously, after she left the Spring Court. But then for it to be like, and it just, she felt like it was multiplied, because she really did feel like Feyre thought she was her friend. I didn't trust her for a second.
Yeah, Feyre thought she was really her friend and that she was helping her and like guiding her and like really wanted to know.
But it was all for Ianthe's benefit anyway.
Yeah, it was all for her benefit, because like she was in a deal with Hybern to take down the High Lords and like rule the priestesses, like, which in theory, like, cool, but like not here in this exact situation. Like, no, we're not about that.
Well, how about, now that we're talking about betrayals, where Tamlin and Lucien were all like, they made a bet with the bad guy and then are surprised that the bad guy had an ulterior, like, they were like, what? What did you think was going to happen? I mean, even everything being said, Feyre was even like, put all our personal shit aside. Him? This is where you're going?
And for such a stupid reason. Tamlin is so toxic. He just wanted Feyre back. He didn't.
Not because he loved her. He just, like, she's mine. Yeah. That was what the line was. It wasn't like, I miss you, I love you, I was worried. No, he was like in a pissing contest.
Yeah, and he's he's just like, obviously he's the worst, but the possessiveness and the disregard when everything comes out. But also it's just like, who do you think you are, my dude? Like, you're gonna go like, what, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, but my new friend wants to take over my country, but it's cool because I'll have my girlfriend back. But like, what?
And then he was already making arrangements for Feyre. Like, oh, well, now you have to obey me also. Like, that's what the King of Hybern. Well, it could. Oh, what did he say? King of Hybern says your master. Yeah. She's gonna work for me because that's what your master had agreed upon. He says the word master.
It's so gross. But even then, like, Lucien is because I wrote a note to it. As soon as they show up, and Tamlin starts like walking towards like Feyre and everybody, Lucien stops him. Lucien's like, nah, something is not right. Something's not right. And Tamlin, and it said like Tamlin is not there. He's just in like white rage or something. Yeah. He's in his like, this color person, rage situation. And he's punching walls, taking names, and doesn't care who he had to hurt to get his prize back because his pride is hurt. And I swear to God, sorry, I am mad about this. People that apologize for him, he is still just a depressed piece of shit in ACOWAR 2. Like Rhys goes right, or no, in
ACOSF, he's still like that. He's like a fully in his beast form. But, I will say, like, if we want, okay. So I will say that Feyre made a lot of allowances for him, even after she was under the impression that they broke up. She said, look, he still needs, like, she recognized he's problematic. He has his own shit. And even when he does get his own shit taken care of, I'm a completely different person. And, and she acknowledges it. And I appreciate that is recognized and that I picked up on that this reread to be like, look, because I know that a big part of the conversations are people are like, oh, everybody's traumas are different. Everybody handles their traumas different. Yes, valid. I'm not negating any of that. That being said, how each of us handles our traumas and how we choose to heal from them or not heal, that shouldn't be forced upon how another person is healing from their trauma. So that's the part where I don't understand. Well, he's dealing, okay, he is. But Feyre even recognizes that and says, but that's not going to, how he chooses and how he handles it. I'm already a different person. I hope all is well. I hope the best for him, but the best isn't going to include me anymore.
And it's not her responsibility. She is not responsible for like his well-being. Like, she's not his mother, obviously. Like, that's not her job. And I do feel like that conversation isn't had enough. Like, it's like, no, it's like that toxic ex that is like, oh, I'm going to do this if you break up with me. That's that situation. It's like, I'm not responsible for you. Like, you need help. You need help. And that's the other thing too, is like Tamlin doesn't make any sort of effort that we, the reader, are aware of to do anything to help anyone, not even himself, but like his lands, his people, his house, any of it. It's just, it is just so frustrating. I'm just so frustrated.
Up until current day. Like, up until current day. Like, it's not Lucien's not there anymore. He everybody, I mean, he has disregarded everybody to the entire point where they used the Spring Court as a meeting ground. It's a fucking joke. And he then wants to put blame on other people. He doesn't want to take any accountability. He's like, oh, I lost my land. I lost my people because of what Feyre did. No, you did that. You did it to yourself. And also, she gave you a warning. If you do this, I will do, if you do A, I will do B. And he did A and she did B. And she's like, I don't know what to tell you. I warned you. You did it to yourself.
Yes, you did it to yourself. Jess, I have a question for you. my question for you is, are you still able to fall in love with Rhys all over again?
Oh my God. Yes. How could, like, it's, I finished reading, and right before we started recording, all I could think of is how much more ACOTAR merch can I get? How much more? But like, how do you, I get to each their own. I naturally just want to be like, how can you not love Rhys? Everybody has their own person that they're going to fall for. But I love Rhys. Like, I might like him more now. I think sometimes you need the rereads, you need the refreshers. Maybe it's a great way to reread, to be like, you know what? Maybe I didn't like him as much as I thought I did. But this one, I mean, my eyes hurt. I have lash holes for the amount of crying that I did. I have a fill on Wednesday. So he's just, people want to say he's morally gray. Okay. But I don't know. I think it would also be naive to think that not everybody is morally gray, because don't we all have our own reasons for doing something? I mean, unless you're actually evil.
It is easy, in my opinion, to fall in love with Rhys, especially in a reread when you know what you know. Even if you just have a reread of ACOMAF, even if you finish ACOMAF and then you start at the beginning and then you read it through again, you're just like, oh, well, this is lovely. Especially, I do think, because this book ends on a cliffhanger, and it ends on an empowering cliffhanger, and you're like, oh my God, I need to know what happens now. Like now. So you're excited and you have this like high, which is something that Sarah does, and Jess, that you spoke about so nicely in our like 1 year birthday episode, when you were talking about like reading Hosab and that feeling at the end. Okay. Yes. Yeah. And our feeling at the end where it's just like, oh my gosh, like, wow, everything is just like bam, 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 bam. But like the meat of it isn't there. That's the opposite here, where it's like at the end, you're just like bam, bam, bam. And the meat is still so wonderful and still so powerful. Like I was on my walk this morning, which is like going up the mountain. So I was like trying not to like, breathe, but like I had like tears coming down my face. It is still so moving, and we feel everything that Feyre feels. And we do, you and I, it is just so powerful. And all that to say, me personally, even with the oversaturation that I have mentioned throughout the episode, even with, the conversations about fan fiction, again, we are pro fan fiction here. All of these conversations, I am still able to be moved by this book. I'm still able to love this book, to recommend this book, to want to be there, right? I want to go to there. That is...
I would still give it all up.
Yeah, like immediately.
And not like I'll give it all up to go to Velaris. No, I would give it all up to be part of the inner circle, to be a part of that specifically.
Yes. And I am thinking about this because we were talking about our favorite reads of the year, again, in our birthday episode for this past year. And I was saying that I was thanking you for introducing me to Shatter Me, because I was able to feel a part of something bigger than myself, and that I haven't really felt that since Harry Potter. I'm going to say now that ACOTAR is the first time that I really wanted to go to that place, the same way that I felt when I was a child and I wanted to go to Hogwarts. Right? That same like magical swept up feeling. I am still able to get that after this reread of ACOMAF, after everything that I know about it. Still take me to Prythian. Still take me there. I will still go, because I want to have that experience and to be part of that like magical feeling. And that is what people really talk about when they talk about ACOTAR, is like just with you too, is like, that's the book that got them back into reading, mostly during the pandemic. And I think that even though people will shit on it, that fact, like that sentence, like ACOMAF got me back into reading, is so so important no matter how you feel about the books.
Oh, absolutely. I think for me, even if it's not just back into reading, if it's exploring different genres, I have a coworker, I think I had mentioned, she started reading this and she was like, I've never considered fantasy in my entire life. I didn't think books could impact you the way that they did. I mean, I was just strictly in contemporary romance and biographies prior to Laura introducing this fantasy genre. I mean, killing 2 books a day, like I just wasn't, which was fine. I wasn't emotionally invested in thinking and wanting more, which is fine. Everybody has their own books that they want to read. Maybe you just want to use it for escapism and you don't want to think, all reading is valid. I don't care how people choose to read, as long as I think if you're able to read, I think that everybody's, you're just as fortunate. But this, it's so much bigger. Like we grew up in the Harry Potter era, but I'd take ACOTAR, SJM universe ACOTAR over Harry Potter any day.
Any day. So magical.
Do you, despite everything that being taken out of the book, appreciating the book, enjoying this, do you feel like it hits harder every time you read? Or does it just depend on like where you're at a certain point in your life? Because I think that happens when we've discussed that in previous rereads too.
Yes. The latter. Every time will be different, right? Because like I mentioned in the beginning of the episode, my note says like, damn, Feyre, that's some emo shit, right? Like I've never had that reaction before, ever. But I'm just like, it hit weird. And it took me, because I was a little frustrated with Feyre because I just wanted to get to the good part, right? Mm-hmm. I wanted to get out of her sadness and get out of the toxicity and to get away from Tamlin and the suffocating, like they do make it as like a suffocating spring court and like a cloying spring court, just to get out of there and to get to like the mountains and the freedom and to get to Reese and to the Starlight, to get to all of that. So in the beginning, I was just like, oh my God, you're sad. We get it.
I also didn't realize that she, at this point, I picked up on it, I guess, more. She had only gone to the night court twice at this point. Mm-hmm. And it was the third time, and I guess like because she's left by herself so often in the spring court, you hear how often she's like, I did my exercises. I did like, but really when it came down to it, she had only been to the night court twice.
Yeah. Like 2 weeks. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, and that's all it took for her to be like, this sucks. I hate it here. I don't want to be here anymore. It's, it's all very interesting. So yeah, like your mindset does impact it, but I do feel like the parts that hit hard are going to hit hard no matter your mindset. Like if you take the time to read, so I did this through audio. I've only done this through audio. Of course I have hard copies that I love, but when you take the time to read and to really just like get in that mindset, like 54 is the superior chapter, I do have to say the inn and the one bed trope, some of it I was like, is this cringy or am I just like, do I need to go touch grass? Like, is it? And I did. I just had to go outside, like touch grass and to like reevaluate and be like, no, I really do like this. I like their chemistry. I like the situation. I like the hand, like all of it. And I do think it is helpful to disconnect a little bit too. So that your mindset isn't as influenced, because you can make yourself hate something. You can, like, you can make yourself hate something, and that sucks. And like life is hard, so why make something worse?
Especially when it's something that you loved. You loved the inn. Like I think it was one of your top scenes. You loved the inn. You loved 54 and the night court scene 47. I want to say that was one of your favorite. You were like, that's one of your favorite scenes.
Yeah, the night court scene is by far
the night court. It's like night court scene. 54 and the inn were like your top, or in your top 5, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and you know, the night court scene still hit, you know, now we have, and here is something to say positive about the saturation that is going on. The Bring the Lions Out music when they're walking down, you know,
Yes!
like that is wonderful. Like that is a glorious addition.
Oh, absolutely. I stopped what I was doing. I pulled it up and I played it when they were walking in. I was like, this, I mean, if there's any, and if you go to the website, it's chapter 47, 48, one of the two. And there's a part where they go, you know, Moore is about to introduce them. If you go to the paragraph where they talk about Az and Cassian, like that line, press play at 45 seconds. This is what I did. And it's dramatic. Like it's a moment. And this is this is the first one. God knows when I get to the one in the Aka War scene, when I eventually do a reread for that, and the Akasif scene when I do a reread for that, like, it's going to be absolutely, like, it just hits every time. And let's also add the oversaturation has added more fan art to the community. Like more artists are coming out and just bringing the scenes that we love to life. Like, it's so wonderful. It's so exciting to see other people get excited about it.
It is. And for the merch, because there was a time when we were all struggling for merch, and now there is a lot of high quality merch. So we do love that. So Jess, did you enjoy this? Was this enjoyable?
It was absolutely enjoyable. I'm going to try not to cry because it's been really emotional, but I'll tell the listeners what I told you, that this was a wonderful idea to revisit. And I can't believe that there was ever a point in my life that I didn't listen to you.
Oh, do we ever do? No, that never existed. No, that time never existed. No, because listeners, if you've been with us since the beginning, you know, like this was a struggle. This was a struggle to get here for Jess. Like, as we have said in our like first kind of episode, our intro episode, like fantasy's a hard sell, fae's a hard sell. So this is the book that started everything because Jess could not stop talking about this book and the feelings that all the feelings you felt, and like
big feelings. It would be 7 o'clock in the morning for me, 5 o'clock in the morning for you when we started, because, you know, you were kind of all over the place when we were both like traveling kind of thing. Also, you know, you were a soldier. 5 a.m. You were ready to go to talk about this book that you had been loving for years. And finally you were like somebody to talk to. Oh my God, somebody, you know, finally. And now we have the thing that spurred it all.
The thing that spurred it all. And there's honestly so much more to come to for us. Like, this is our 100th episode. I am very excited to see where our next 100 will take us, honestly.
Thanks so much for joining us for this really special episode. Thank you for being with us this far, or even if you're just joining, there's so much more to go back on. Feel free to follow us on Instagram, ACOFAE Podcast. We're also both on TikTok, ACOFAE Laura and ACOFAE Jessica. We can't thank you enough, and we hope to talk to y'all soon. Bye.